let's get right to Chad Pergram on the phone to explain what went down while you were sleeping to reach this deal to fund DHS. Chad.
Well, they are halfway there toward ending this partial government shutdown, this shutdown for 41-plus days with the Department of Homeland Security. There was a vote in the middle of the night, a little bit after 2 o'clock this morning, where the Senate, with a skeleton staff through, it wasn't a formal roll call vote, agreed to fund DHS, but not fund ICE and not fund parts of Customs and Border Protection. To some degree, people might say, well, what did both sides get? Well, these lines at the airports were just starting to be untenable. We continue to be at war with Iran, and there's concern about terrorism, and they just felt that they had to open up DHS. We're into this spring travel season. These lines of 3 and 4 and 5 hours at the airports were just not working. They were concerned about security. They were concerned about people not getting paid, as TSA was facing a second full paycheck. And keep in mind that TSA workers, they have been without a paycheck for nearly 50% of this fiscal year. Remember, we had the comprehensive government shutdown back in the fall that went for a record 43 days. They weren't paid then. Then we had another short shutdown back in January, February, and then we've had DHS shut down since then. So what gave? Well, Democrats feel that they kind of stuck together. They held out here, but they did not get any concrete reforms with ICE after the shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy in Minnesota. That's something they insisted upon. But by the same token, Republicans said, no, we're going to, we want ICE funded. We want CBP funded. We want everything funded under the DHS umbrella. And they did not get that. So usually, when they come to an agreement, there used to be said that compromise is negotiated hurt. That's what Henry Clay said. And both sides politically were probably hurt. From a political perspective, this probably helps Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader, who, stuck to his guns throughout this entire process. He didn't get everything, but he certainly was able to keep his caucus together during this. Now this goes to the House of Representatives. The House is going to have to kind of take it or leave it. We don't know what that means later today in the House. The Senate has already, cut town. They've gotten out. They're going on their recess for 2 weeks for Easter and Passover. So if this shutdown is to continue, the House would not pass the bill. But if they're going to put out this fire, they have to accept what the Senate approved overnight, guys.
You have to be looking at this, if you're these lawmakers, and saying, we've reached a breaking point at these airports, and a 2-week recess could cripple the system. I don't want to say permanently, but have impacts that we don't even want to consider, because what we've seen so far is pretty darn bad. But I'm going to pick it up here. If it passes the House and President Trump ultimately signs it, how soon before these TSA agents, some of whom are selling plasma just to get by, how soon before they get paid? And Chad, what happens now to President Trump's plan to do an executive order to pay TSA?
Well, he could still do that if he wanted to, but I don't know that necessarily expedites the payment schedule for TSA employees. But what's interesting is just, what is the filtering down here? When do people say, okay, I'm ready to come back to work? How, quickly do they start to mitigate this? It's not if you have a flight at, 2 o'clock this afternoon that suddenly everything is perfect at the airports. It probably takes several days. But here's the lasting impact. As I said, that, there's kind of this PTSD that DHS and PTS and TSA workers have been, dealing with here since the fall. And that's why they were having people quit and call out, because, some people say, look, I don't want to work for the federal government. I don't want to work for that agency if it's always going to be a political football. And so, there probably are, frankly, lasting impacts that people look askew when they might have a job opportunity there, or do they want to continue to work there, Todd?
Yeah, and you said that the House could either take or leave this, Chad. What are you hearing from House lawmakers about that very question, taking it or leaving it? There are a lot of Republicans who would consider no funding for ICE as a non-starter.
Well, guess what? It's about the math. They're going to have some combination of Democratic and Republican votes, especially if they're going to move this through a special process, an expedited process called suspension. If you go through the suspension process where you suspend the rules, which is something they do all the time. This is not really a backdoor thing. It's just a process they go through on a regular basis in the House, but it means you need 2/3. That means you need a lot of Republicans and a lot of Democrats. If they were to pass this with a simple majority, I could certainly see a universe of, anywhere from 15 to about 40 Democrats who would vote yes. But you need significant Democratic buy-in here if you're going to have some Republicans balk at this. And we just don't know. I had pressed House Speaker Mike Johnson early yesterday morning as to whether or not, they could do just a temporary bill, for like, 2 weeks over the recess or something like that and come back. And he didn't rule that out. I don't know that they're going to get there. But again, either they have to pass this as is, or this stalemate continues. And again, this is what's so funny about this is that they have repeatedly, the Democrats had asked for this, funding everything at DHS except ICE and Border Patrol, and that was rejected on multiple occasions. And then the Republicans kind of shifted their position and said, okay, we're going to meet the Democrats where they are, and then the Democrats balked. The politics of this have really been, hard to keep up with, and frankly, pretty inconsistent on both sides of the aisle, because both sides have said we want A, and then the other side has said that, and then the other side has switched it around on them. So it's been pretty weird. It's been a very odd shutdown, as most shutdowns are. But here's the bottom line: there are only so many exits on the political interstate, and if they didn't take this exit in the Senate, they were going to be shut down for at least another 2 weeks, and who knows how bad this crisis was going to get at the airports.
We've obviously talked about Thune taking ICE funding off the table, but it is very, very important to note, Chad, as you have multiple times, that the one big beautiful bill really gave ICE a lot of money. So ICE is going to be good for the time being. But what are you hearing on the ground when you talk to these Congress people in their offices, sort of off the record, as to whether or not Republicans now are really going to use reconciliation to fund ICE, to fund CBP, and of course, attach that old pesky SAVE Act to it in the end as well?
Well, the first two-thirds of what you said is absolutely right. Let me start backwards here. The SAVE Act deals with the voting provisions, the Save America Act. It's going to be very hard to shoehorn that in to budget reconciliation, because that is a policy matter. And there are some people who can argue if we put money to it, it has to be money if it's going to be in budget reconciliation and be, inoculated from a filibuster. Okay, if they're able to do that, fine. They might get that past the Senate parliamentarian. But most Republicans, even Andy Harris, the chairman of the Freedom Caucus in the House for the Republican representative from Maryland, said he didn't think it would work that way. Warren Davidson from Ohio said the same thing, said this is kind of just a fig leaf that they're talking about. They might try. You certainly try, but it probably gets ruled out. Now, to the first part of your question, Todd, when you're dealing with, trying to make ICE whole and Customs and Border Protection whole, well, this gives impetus to actually getting that reconciliation bill done. House Speaker Mike Johnson had pushed a reconciliation bill for a while. John Thune, the Republican leader in the Senate, was a little skeptical of that. But now this pretty much compels them to do that, and that will be the next big thing that they have to do. And there will be some things that Republicans certainly want to get into that bill to make the kind of the exclamation point on their legislative achievements for the year as they go into the midterms this fall.
Yeah, well, as you say, air travel is about to reach a breaking point, Chad, and something certainly had to get done. So that's what happened overnight. But it is only the beginning, and we will certainly be watching how this plays out throughout the day. Chad Pergram live for us. Thank you so much. Burning that midnight oil.
Get some sleep, Chad.
Again. Chad, we appreciate you as always.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.